drinking, everything was about the drink. So I'd go on a night out and it'd be, no matter what I'm there for, it becomes about the drink. And I see that when I go to an event and like people say, or I'll say, I'll go to the bar or whatever, and I'm spending like half an hour missing what I'm there to do at the bar. And it's ridiculous because we've come to see that, but I could do that anywhere. Why am I spending half an hour at a bar, at a gig or at a football match? I'm missing a third of the football match to stand at a bar. Why am I doing this? Why do I have to enhance my experience of something I've paid to do with something that's not actually enhancing it? It's taking away from it. And that's a metaphor for life with alcohol, isn't it? It's taking away from our experience of life. We're trying to enhance it, but it's taking away from it. It's not actually doing what it says on the tin. You know what I mean?
Jan!
You hear me all right?
Yeah, sorry about the delay there. It's been 6 months since I've interviewed anyone on my podcast. It's another human being.
No problem. And I'm honoured to be the first for the last 6 months.
It's been too long, man. It's been too long.
Yeah, that's massively, yeah. Yeah, you've been busy though. You've been busy, and yeah, it's time just flies, doesn't it?
Yeah, it goes really quick. Talking about time flying, let's go back to the beginning, John. What was life like before you found Strive, and what was it that made you reach out specific? Well, I guess two things. What made you realize that A, I've got a problem, and B, what dragged you into Strive, I guess?
I think because we had a bit of common ground with the poker, and I'd seen you around, and I'd seen you had like this kind of like double life, if you like. You had the poker career going on, and then you had the kind of alcohol-free kind of stuff going on, and that's obviously two things I was interested in. So yeah, I remember I probably reached out to you about that, and then you put me in touch with the community, and yeah, it kind of just went from there, really. I'd already made the decision that it was something I kind of wanted to really pursue, was not drinking, even though I'd thought that 20 times previously. Since I actually started drinking, I knew it wasn't really good for me. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like 14, even maybe younger, starting drinking, recognised I'm probably responding to this a little bit differently to everybody else. Although I used to see that as a curse, now I see it as a blessing. You know what I mean? That it kind of hit me. I'm a bit sensitive to many things. You know what I mean? Toxins and emotions and all sorts of stuff. So I'm quite a sensitive person, but I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but yeah, I suppose it was that kind of common ground, and then getting involved with your community and helping other people was really beneficial for me as well. Obviously, I was training as a counsellor, or just newly qualified at that time. So I was turning up for counselling appointments, feeling like a bit of a fraud. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm struggling, and how can I help people when I'm struggling? And but I'm human as well. Do you know what I mean? So I'm allowed to struggle. Do you know what I mean? But these are all things I've kind of tossed about and almost kind of made peace with, really, I suppose, over the last, since I stopped drinking, I suppose. Everything's a bit clearer.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that. I got a few. I mean, I want to talk about a couple of the things you said. First one is, when you said that you was a bit different to everyone else, like when you were drinking, you're like, hang on, I think this is like different to me than everyone else. Do you still think that's true? Because I think that we think that, but I think everybody to a certain degree must be thinking, especially if they're knocking it back to the degree we were, where we really think, we have to do something about it. They must be waking up as they're puking in the toilet, thinking similar things that we are, but some people do something about it, some people don't.
Yeah, I think we're maybe deeper. I don't. I think it's around the deeper thinking aspect as well. Sometimes, like some people just see it as, like you say, kind of many times they see it as normal. Like it's just normal. It's what we do. So you're supposed to feel shit. You're supposed to get over it. You're supposed to deal with the consequences, and then you get back on the horse and you just carry on. Um, but I think maybe some of us think about it a little bit more deeply, whereas others don't really challenge the social norms, if you like, which shouldn't be normal, but unfortunately they are. I mean, we probably think similarly about certain foods and certain aspects of other things. Do you know what I mean? Like, kind of people don't really think about it, they don't challenge it, they just go along with it in general. Whereas I'm a bit more of a deeper thinker around everything. So, and I think that alcohol doesn't help with that. So it really impacts my ability to think straight. It impacts my ability to do the things I want to do. Whereas some people just aren't that asked whether it impacts that or not. So yeah, I agree that people get the same effects, but they don't really think about it because it's just normal. It's what we do. Yeah, I mean,
What what was what was different between, because I've been there as well, and I've actually come to peace with this one recently. But I want to ask you, what was different between all those times before when you're thinking this just isn't me, but you can't stop, or you don't even entertain the decision, versus the moment when you're like, I'm fucking done. What is the difference? Because I used to find this really difficult to teach people.
yeah. Um, I tried many times. Normally, after a really horrific kind of something had happened, I got done for drink driving. And then later, I actually drove a car drunk again later after vowing never to do that again. And then I was horrified that I just thought I'm so lucky to not have got caught doing it that time. So this is a blessing. But then I did it again. I stopped for 8 months and then I started again. But I was miserable for that 8 months. I hated it because I was using willpower. I was using, why am I different? Poor me. Everyone else can drink sensibly. They can't. But in my head, you know what I mean? I'm thinking everybody can. Um, the main thing for me was, and not everybody has this, I suppose, was the responsibility I had with my daughter. Um, my daughter was very young. And I knew that I wouldn't be a good role model if I would continue to be the way I was. It was one Mother's Day actually, which was a bit of a light bulb moment for me. Was the night before I got absolutely wasted, and my wife was planning to do something or whatever, and I woke up and she was having a lie-in because it was Mother's Day, and I went downstairs with my daughter, and I was literally just laid on the couch, felt horrific, couldn't be responsible. It's basically neglect. You know what I mean? I'm neglecting my daughter. I mean, not to the extent where I'm just letting her do whatever, and the extent what we think of neglect as. But for me, that was enough neglect as a bit of a wake up call of how bad it could be. And I just thought, I don't want to be this guy. My wife basically came downstairs, get to bed, you're a disgrace, etc., or whatever happened, whatever the little interaction was. But I didn't like it, and I just thought, yeah, this ain't right. So my daughter's that she was probably 2 years old, even younger at that point. So she's never really seen me in that state, apart from maybe that, but she wouldn't have recognised it as that state, I suppose. But it just worries me that kids see that. You know what I mean? Kids see that with their parents, and it's like it's not great, is it? It's just I see it all the time. Like when I'm on holiday, and it's just like it's not great behaviour. And it's not. I know we say it's like our culture, but it's not only our country. This is going on in many cultures. We
Yeah.
tend to be a bit worse than others, I suppose.
It's like I remember I used to speak to I remember I was in Mexico maybe. Yeah, I was in Mexico donkeys years ago. This is the first time I ever had experience of mixing with Americans. And funny enough, this podcast. There's more Americans listen to this podcast than any other country, funny enough. But this is when I was with my first wife, and I met Americans for the first time, and they were talking about how much they drink and it being a problem, and I was like mind blown that they thought that was a problem, because the level that I was drinking at was like 5 times worse than them, and I didn't think it was a problem. Like it was just mind boggling. It really was. But yeah, talking about the daughter thing, you actually you reminded it's something that happened the other day. Actually, my daughter Zia, she's 8 now. She's going to be 9 in September, and we were sat down. She's doing her thing. I'm doing my thing. And she asked me a question about my business. She knows what I do. So she asked me a question about it, and I told her, and she said, "Well, Dad, I just want you to know right now that when I'm older, I am going to drink wine." Right? This is the 8-year-old, right? And bear in mind, she knows what I do, right? So I'm like, "Oh, okay. What made you make that decision then?" She goes, "Well, Mum drinks."
Mm.
Now, my wife drinks probably she probably drinks like one little can of wine a month.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? It's like nothing. Honest to God, right? If you was ever going to pick someone, and you could argue they drank consciously, it would be my wife, right? It's just not in our house. You never see it. It doesn't exist. You don't see her drinking nothing. And here she is at 8 saying, "I'm going to drink wine because Mum does." So imagine what it's like when you are like my son, for example. I stopped drinking when he was 8, 9. Imagine that, like seeing that, witnessing that, like, and like you were being kind, saying you was on the chair, saying, you weren't that neglectful. I was very neglectful. I was like fucking puking, sleeping, blacking out. Like I didn't know what they were doing. And drinking at home, like such a bad thing as well. So, and just tell the people at home, because you actually you took on a lion's share of the parenting responsibilities, didn't you? Because your wife, she had a really good job and she was out doing a thing, and you're like, okay, I'm going to go take care of the daughter and do my business. What was it like doing that? Because I know a lot of dads struggle with it.
Yeah, I struggled with it at first, and obviously you get like the traditional kind of relationship, family life is that the guy goes out to work. Obviously, that's changed a lot now, which has probably impacted a lot of kind of the problems that we have traditionally, not having parents around, and the stresses and strains of a big mortgage and cars, holidays, all the gadgets. But yeah, that's a whole other podcast, I suppose. Yeah, it was difficult, like friends taking the piss out of me because of my lifestyle, etc. It's still pretty much the same, to be honest. I work part-time. My wife still has a stressful job. She's out of the house most of the time. I do the school runs. My daughter's getting to the point now where she wants to walk to school by herself, which I'm seeing. I'm getting a little bit more. That relationship's changing. So I'm getting a little bit more freedom, if you like. She's getting a bit more independent, and that'll change more and more as the years go by. She goes into high school the year after next, so obviously she'll probably want me even less by then, which is fine. We've done our job, whatever. Yeah, it's brilliant. Independence and all that. So yeah, I suppose stopping drinking for me, I mean, I had the perfect lifestyle to probably drink more or get obliterated as much as I want in the time I have or whatever. But for me, I saw it differently, kind of like as I've got more responsibility, I use my time more effectively because I'm not recovering from drinking. I'm the kind of person that doesn't like to sit still anyway, so I'm a little bit kind of like, I don't just like, even if I'm not counselling people during the day, I will never just sit down and watch a TV series. It's not me. I like go to the gym, I'll go for a run, I'll go for a walk, I'll take my dad out, I'll fill that time with something. I'm a little bit all over the place, if I'm honest. I'm a little bit like struggle to focus on stuff, so I'm do a bit of this, do a bit of that, get into something new, get bored of it. You know what I mean? Like, but I accept myself for that, and I run with it while I can, while I'm young enough and mechanically sound, if you like. I can do that. So whatever. I enjoy variety and being a bit all over the place. That's fine. Maybe I'll have to kind of get a grip on that as I get older and I have to slow down a bit. But I suppose the lifestyle is okay at the moment, but that might change as my wife gets a bit older. I can see the conversations we have. She's getting a bit tired of working so hard. So I think things might change in the next 5 or so years where she slows down a bit. So yeah, we might have to kind of look at the roles. I might go into doing more work. She might start doing less. We'll see. We'll see.
You touch upon a couple of things, but just to accentuate this point for people who are at home, and for those of you listening who are drinking and haven't been present in your kid's life, just know this: John got lucky and he got his shit together before his kids started to, get to notice what he was doing. I didn't. My boy was 9 when I stopped drinking, 9 or 10. He's 24 now. And you just got to know that your kids are resilient, and no matter what you throw at them, they'll deal with it. They'll deal with it. And you have got time to make a difference. You really have. So if you're at home now, like feeling shame, we all have, and it hurts. Just feel it. I know it sounds odd, but just feel it, go through it, love yourself. We all make mistakes. We make decisions. You have to remember you're stuck in this liquid lie. We're all programmed to drink from birth. It's very difficult not to. So I just want to put that precursor out there. But for people who aren't so aware, John, what are some of the things that you look back at now as I'm going to call you a single dad, but you're not a single dad, obviously, but you spend a lot of time in that space. What is it that you get to do that you could never have done if you was a lush? Like what are the things that you can look back on and go, oh my word, I get to do this, I get to do that? Because we talk about the bad things a lot. Let's talk about the good stuff that you get to do with your daughter,
in terms of what it gives me and the space it gives me now I don't drink. So
yeah. So a good example would be like last night I took my daughter to bed and I literally sat by the side of her bed holding her hand for 2 hours while she fell asleep, right?
Yeah.
Without moaning about it, without groaning about it, like looking at her adorably, being grateful I was in that spot. I'm not always like that, but I was last night. I would never have fucking been like that when I was drinking.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. I know what you mean there. So basically, when I was drinking, everything was about the drink. So I'd go on a night out and it'd be, no matter what I'm there for, it becomes about the drink. And I see that when I go to an event and like people say, oh, or I'll say, oh, I'll go to the bar or whatever. And I'm spending like half an hour missing what I'm there to do at the bar. And it's ridiculous because we've come to see that, but I could do that anywhere. Why am I spending half an hour at a bar, at a gig, or at a football match? I'm missing a third of the football match to stand at a bar. Why am I doing this? Why do I have to enhance my experience at something I've paid to do with something that's not actually enhancing it? It's taking away from it. And that's a metaphor for life with alcohol, isn't it? It's taking away from our experience of life. We're trying to enhance it, but it's taking away from it. It's not actually doing what it says on the tin. You know what I mean?
It's like presence. It's like what he's saying is it's taking away your ability to be present. And I think we all struggle with that anyway, because we weren't raised in households where presence, our age as well, like we weren't raised in households where presence was like a trait that was cultivated. Do you know what I mean? Like, so you had to learn it, but how can you learn it if you're just drinking all the time,
You can focus on whatever you're doing at the time because alcohol's now not a factor. Like I think I've messaged you before, like with my kind of like little motto is I drink as much as I want, whenever I want. And for me, that's a really good way of looking at it because it's the same as I don't drink bleach because it's not good for me. Do you know what I mean? So alcohol's not good for me. I know it's not good for me, so I don't do it. So why would I do it? So I don't consider myself as a non-drinker. I do things what I think are healthy for me, and I don't do things what aren't healthy for me. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I suppose, looking at what really enhances my life and what takes away from my life and my time and my concentration. I already struggle with concentration, so why would I make it worse by doing things what make that worse? Or, like you say, not be able to focus on taking your child to bed, and not be thinking, oh, I need to get downstairs because this is taking away from my time of having a drink. Do you know what I mean? Which I would have been thinking if I was drinking. Do you know what I mean? And I probably was in them first couple of years of my daughter's life. I remember I used to sit in the other room and watch what I wanted on telly and drink a bottle of red wine. And I'm like, oh, Wednesday's going to be my weekday drinking night. What? You know what I mean?
I was like that with football. Like, it would be so ritualistic. And I just, for people listening, listen to this, because it's like really important part of the liquid lie, I think. Let's say Man United were playing on Champions League on a Wednesday night. I'd be all excited in work, right? Because the game's on. And then I'd go to the pub on the way home and I would get 3 bottles of wine for a tenner, or I would get like 2 packs of Strongbow. I'd go in my living room when the game was on. My wife weren't allowed in. My boy weren't allowed in. Me telly would be blaring, like surround sound, blaring it out. I'd sit on the edge of my couch. I would never sit back. And I would shout, I would scream, I would drink. And then at the end of it all, everybody could then come back to life, right? Like, I look back at that now and I think, what the fuck was I doing? You know, like, now I don't drink. If Man United, God bless my soul as a United fan, if they're playing tonight, I'm still really excited, right? I'm still really excited because I'm going to watch the game in the night. But I don't behave like that. And what changed? It was just, I didn't drink anymore. And then I realized, holy fuck, there's so many stories with drinking, isn't there? There's the football story. There's, I don't know, the casino story in Vegas where they get your drinks for nothing. There's the wedding story. There's the funeral story. And all these stories that you have in your head, alcohol is like sewn into them. And then when you stop, you look back and you think, that not only did that add no value, but it actually disconnected me from the experience of watching the game. It disconnected me from myself, and it certainly disconnected me from my wife and my kid, because they just thought this thing was more important than them.
Yeah, and I think that that when you think of them experiences and you look back, you think of the visuals of where you are, who you were with, what you were watching, what you were there for. You don't think of what you were pouring down your neck. So when you look back, that's why you forget how bad you felt, or you forget, and then you do it again. But when you actually look back at the experience, the alcohol's not the experience, is it? That you think you give it the credit as, oh, that's what made it better. But it didn't, because we're not even remembering the alcohol or what we poured down our neck. We're thinking of who we were with, where we were at. And I think, like, I still go to things occasionally. I'm quite lucky that I moved from Hull, so I'm 100 and odd miles away from my friends. But when I get together with them, for the first 3 hours, it's brilliant, and then it starts like the spitting in my ear and the repetitive banter, and it's like, oh, here we go. But because I'm in my car, I can just jump in my car and go. I'm not trapped, and I think I've always really struggled with that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's like, so I drink to be part of it, maybe. I don't know. And again, these are all people who are successful, intelligent people, but they're just conditioned that this is just normal. And for me, I'm just like, yeah, I don't want to be like, people say to me, oh, but how do you enjoy going out with your friends and that when you don't drink? I say, well, I enjoy it up to a point, but if you think about the concept of going to a pub, you're basically standing in a room, which is shit if you don't drink. What is good about that? Nothing. So why would you go and stand in a room just drinking, when drinking is the only thing that's kind of, yeah, we can have a chat and all that lot but that's only like for me, I like to spend my time a little bit more constructively. I don't mind sitting down having a chat if it's a nice chat. But if we're just talking shit and spitting in each other's ears and taking the piss out of each other for 3 hours, I'm not doing that. It's not
It's
something I'm
like
doing
it's like
anymore.
what you talk about there. It's almost like it's, do you see those old TV shows where they end up in an opium den and they just go in there and they smoke opium and they're just all fucked up. Right? That's the only reason to go to the pub, right? Like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
only reason to go to pub is to get fucked up because like I make a lot of podcasts about this. I spent a lot of time in coffee shops and places like there's a place around the corner here called Chapter Arts where there's loads of tables and chairs. People go to eat, drink, coffee. They have a bar as well, but they have a non-alcohol zone, all this kind of stuff. And I'm there in the daytime and I'm looking around and nobody's got a pint or anything. I could even be in Starbucks, right? And you see people having a laugh, big belly laughs. You see people in deep, meaningful, serious conversations. You'll see people getting upset. You'll see people holding space. You see it all. And then you think to yourself, why then do you need to go to a pub, right? It's like another part of the narrative. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
maybe we need more places. I was gonna meet with my boy yesterday and he was gonna pick me up from a station. What do you want to do? Play snooker, darts, or pool? Well, usually you're just going to go to the pub, aren't you? Maybe we need more places that aren't a pub that are open later that you can go to.
Yeah.
Coffee
I
shops
think
here
that, I think
shut at
that is
6.
happening. I think it is happening a bit more now, and I think the influence of different cultures is helpful because the kind of like, I mean, it's not the healthiest, but the dessert shop, the coffee shop, and I live in Bolton, which is quite a big Asian community, kind of Indian, Pakistani, and they a lot of them don't drink, a lot of them still do drink, to be honest. Um, but there's a lot of these places cropping up, which people use a lot more late into the evening. Culturally, that's kind of a thing, isn't it? But yeah, I know what you mean. And then the traditional pub, like people are recognizing that doing activities. But again, it comes along with drink, like the crazy golf in Manchester and the darts places now, and all this. People are wanting to be a little bit more active rather than just sit down and round and just get pissed. Do you know what I mean? But again, there's still alcohol heavily involved. So yeah, and maybe that's just something that I don't know. I know a lot more people now who drink non-alcoholic stuff and drive just because of the prices of things as well. I'm a Yorkshireman. I'm tight as cramp, so I'm happy to not drink
My
because of
si-
that as well.
my sister, I went out with my sister the other afternoon, and she was telling me that it was her birthday, right? So I was buying her birthday lunch, and she said she was in the pub, and the price of a double gin and tonic
Mm,
was £8 in
yeah,
Ogmore Vale.
yeah, well,
If it's £8 in Ogmore Vale, Christ
yeah,
knows how much it is in London. And she was asking me mum and dad to, like, because it was her birthday, are you going to buy me a birthday drink? And my dad's like, well, I'm not buying you a fucking double gin and tonic. It's
yeah,
like £8. It blows my fucking mind how much
yeah.
money people spend on this shit, if any reason at all.
It's
Like, you
unreal.
save some
Unreal.
money. Oh my God, low hanging fruit. Low
We
hanging
went we
fruit.
went to a restaurant in Manchester for our anniversary, and yeah, it's considered to be quite a pricey one, but it's kind of like a mainstream one. It's called Tattoo. It's a Chinese, but a bit of a posh Chinese, if you like. And they had the cocktail list, and I literally I'd had one non-alcoholic beer in a bar, and I think I had some water, and I had a coffee in another. And then we got there, and I thought, well, I'm done with all the shit flavored pop and all the rest of it, and I've had one non-alcoholic beer, which whatever. I'm not having another, so I just literally drank the table water. And this was a place that obviously relies on people with the cocktails, the cocktail list. And they had this cocktail for couples called a dragon, and it was basically a big glass dragon with two dragons' heads and a straw in each side. £50. £50.
But that's the type of thing I would buy back in the day.
For yourself.
Yeah, yeah, because
and add some extra shots.
It's because I don't know about you, but for me, the more and more work I do, I realize that everything was about approval for me. So, so the reason I would buy that 50 quid thing is because I worked it out very early in life that the bigger a dickhead I could be, the more friends and the more status I would get. So if I abused teachers to the point where they were crying when they went home, if I beat kids up, if I snorted tequila instead of drinking it, if I did all that thing, everybody loved me. And of course, because I didn't know how to love myself back then, that was how I
seeking
grew
approval, weren't you? Yeah,
all the time. Yeah. So
and being different in that environment like you were, that was a big factor, wasn't it? You was really yearning for that approval and to be accepted.
Yeah.
We don't have to be anything for anybody, do we? That's the thing. But when we're young, that's important, isn't it?
Well, this is why, I'm the way that my narrative is now is a little bit different when we were together. It's like I'm very kind of like, I want people to be alcohol free as fuck, but the key thing is then to live a self-led life. I think when we were together, it wasn't. I didn't use that terminology because we wasn't using internal family systems therapy back then, but we still were a community of, we don't just want to stop drinking because like I think you said earlier on in the podcast, when you give it a go once for 8 months or something, you was bored as fuck because we're not focusing on our life. And it's in that focus of your life that you realize the approval piece, right? And now you can do something about it. But you can't just stop drinking and think that's going to solve everything because you just go back to drinking.
Yeah, I was thinking about what I'd lost, not what it was giving me, and I think the difference is that I see more value in not doing it now than doing it. So my life is, God knows how many times better because I don't do it. We've just got back from Turkey actually, and we went on an all-inclusive holiday, and my wife still drinks and the staff still think I'm weird for not drinking and it's all free, and it's not free, but what happens is when we go to that kind of places, I get up early, I go for a run, I go to the gym, I'm up for 2 hours before my wife and my daughter even sleeps in now because she goes to bed later. I'm at the gym, I go for a swim, I'll do whatever, I'll go for a coffee, and that 1.5, 2 hours in the morning is such an amazing time. I love it. I absolutely love it. And then I'm asleep at 10:30, and my wife has a glass of wine on the balcony, etc., and she reads a Kindle or watches a series while we're away, and that works for us. It's about the day for me. I love that. It's not about getting myself obliterated in the evening and then sleeping in all morning because I lose that part of the morning. What I love now, why would I want to lose that? Do you know what I mean? Why would I want to show my daughter that this is how I want to live my life? Like, there's so many different factors and value, so much more value to it. Plus my anxiety. I said to a doctor once, why do you not tell people to stop drinking to sort out their anxiety? It's a big factor, and it has been a big factor for me. She said, because people don't want to stop drinking. They'd rather take medication than focus on something which they consider is a big part of their life or whatever. And I'm thinking, yeah, but you still should push that as a health service.
Yeah, I think he's got it. As somebody who's been doing this for 15 years, trying to help people, he is right in one respect. People don't want to stop drinking, even when they think they do want to stop drinking. But they need to like wake the fuck up and deal with the right shit. It's like it's. I was listening to a podcast yesterday. I think I was one of a political podcast or something, and they were talking about they were talking about in America that the media system is broken and nobody relies on traditional media anymore, and they did like a research on the quantity of transgender related news pieces versus opioid epidemic piece is, right? When the Democrats were in office there. And it was something like one piece about opioid addiction to every 100 pieces on transgender, right? So the point of the podcast, they were saying, this is why people don't trust traditional media, because they should be focusing on this opioid epidemic. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, like, I don't know the numbers, but I'm pretty sure that 3.3 million people a year are not dying because of opioid abuse, but they are dying of alcohol abuse, right? So, like,
no one makes money. It's such a big money making racket, though, isn't it?
Massive. Like, I was
why
listening.
Would they push it? Why
I was
would
listening. Richie Sunak. Is Richie Sunak the London mayor, right? Yeah, Richie Sunak. Yeah. So yesterday again on another pod, he was he was arrested his money. It was, and he was asked by the host about his thoughts on legalizing weed, right? Because there's a bill in the UK to legalize weed, and I really love what he said. He said, "There's a load of them doing it around the world at the moment. Our policy is, let's wait and see what happens, because." Look, without a doubt, we could legalize weed and the government will make a shit ton of money. But what is the long-term effects of exposing the community to that, right? Bang on. Like, people, we have an alcohol problem because somewhere along the line, it just become part of the course, and the government and everybody else make huge amounts, all these big institutions make huge amounts of money around it. And that makes it so difficult to dismantle it, right? It's like, this is how capitalism gets dragged into it. You know what I mean? It's like, tough one.
Yeah. It's sorry, I just checked then. It's Sadiq Khan. I knew it wasn't Rishi Sunak. It's Sadiq Khan, isn't it?
Sadiq Khan, that's it.
Yeah.
I don't even know my own London mayor.
To be honest, mate, I didn't know. I had to check. I don't get too involved in politics. It just winds me up. So.
Was Richie Sunak the former prime minister then?
Yeah.
I was in a taxi and somebody asked me that, and I didn't even know. That's how much attention I pay to world.
It's good though, because it's kind of pointless knowing all these. Really, it's just like ridiculous. But yeah, something we were talking about earlier was about kind of like that, almost like that guilt factor, like when you were saying about like the neglect factor. And I know that people that listen to this will feel that they maybe have neglected certain aspects, family members, all the rest of it. But I think it is important to remember it's never too late to make things right. It's never too late to make the change. And we shouldn't judge ourselves too harshly on them past decisions, because they've been tainted by not only alcohol, but whatever situation we were in at the time. We've made the choices we've made based on the information we had at the time and our knowledge and the way we felt. So don't be too hard on yourself. And yeah, like you said, kids are resilient. I went through, God, my dad used to lay on me and my brother just crying for hours. Like, we would lay under him. He'd be pissed when my mum and dad got divorced, and all sorts of domestic violence. And I consider myself to be pretty normal now. Do you know what I mean? He's been through some pretty crazy shit as a kid. And yeah, so that's how resilient we are. And it's not easy getting through it, but I think that self-awareness and being kind to yourself is really, really helpful. That it doesn't mean you're a bad person. The fact that you feel shit about it means you're not a bad person for the first thing. You know what I mean? If you felt great about it, you know what I mean?
There's an extension to that as well. I think what he said there is like really beautiful and really important. And I just want to extend it a little bit, because like I said that I drank for the first 8 or 9 years of my son's life. But I didn't drink for the first 8 or 9 years of my daughter's life. And I can tell you that for both of them, other than their mothers, nobody loves them more than I do in the world.
Yeah.
But nobody's hurt them in the world more than I have.
Yeah.
And so, and that's for both of them. So my point is, for those of you listening who are having a bit of a shame spiral because you are drinking right now and you've got kids, hopefully you get on board the Strive bus. You learn to be alcohol-free as fuck. But I'm sorry, you're still going to fuck up as a parent.
Yeah, we're not perfect.
Right. And then you're not drinking. hang on, I'm not drinking, but I'm still fucking up as a husband. I'm still fucking up as a father. And guess what? At that moment, you come to realize that it's just human and that life's hard and being a dad is hard and being a son is hard and being a husband is hard. And but what Stride gives you is it gives you the opportunity to change your narrative and learn to grow, to take that on as your new reality. So then when you just come to peace with it. So when you can just do your best. You just work hard, do your best. And for me, doing my best is I got a young daughter. It's easy for me to go into a mindfuck moment of her getting older, being with men sexually, intimately. It bothers me in my head. And her drinking and taking drugs in those environments. And I just have to get out of my head and say, Lee, the only thing you can do is be the best man you can be for her. So at least she has something that she looks at and goes, she looks at the way I treat her mum and says, that is the way I want to be treated. Right? Like, that's the only thing I can do. And coming home fucking wasted is not the role model to give her. I'm not going to be able to stop her drinking or fucking snorting cocaine. I'm not going to be able to stop her doing that. She'll do whatever she does. But what I can do is be the best dad and the best husband as I can be and talk to her when I fuck up and get back into integrity and apologize and show her that I can take responsibility. That's the only thing we can do, right?
Yeah, and I think that in terms of thinking like, well, I haven't been the perfect parent, and like you said, you've not been the perfect parent in both situations there, and that's okay, isn't it? And in terms of it doesn't matter which one it is, there are positives and negatives to what we think is the perfect parent, but your lad will have developed certain life skills from the way he was brought up. So he might feel a bit more independent. I don't know, but the different kids respond to different things. But in terms of like my upbringing, it wasn't the best, but it's like you can't teach that shit. You know what I mean? You can't learn that in a college. So it's helped me become the person I am. Because if I wouldn't have experienced that, who knows what would have happened? Maybe I'd have just become someone who didn't think about this shit and I'd have just carried on doing the same shit. Maybe I'd have killed myself doing something else. Maybe, you know what I mean? So I am where I am, and these people who listen to this are where they are, and they have had the experiences they've had. Don't judge yourself too harshly on that, because we don't know what our kids would have developed, or yeah, there will be like certain characteristics like we blame ourselves for, but who knows what characteristics they would have developed if we would have been different. You know what I mean, this is why we're blaming ourselves for all the bad stuff and none of the good stuff.
Exactly. It's when you have a when you have a heavily controlled environment. So in my house, for example, there's hardly any alcohol, like I said, right? Nobody's drinking it around the dinner table or anything. Nobody's ever drunk or off it. I don't eat sugar, right? So like the sugar thing, that we're very kind of like focused on her not vegging out on screens, right? So Zia's actually been raised in kind of a so much more controlled environment than Jude. Yet she still turns around and goes, yeah, I'm going to drink wine when I'm older. And she still comes out with these things. And you realize, I think it's Gabor Mate that talks about this a lot. It's like, get over yourselves. Your kids will go to their peers. They will be their role models. It won't be you, parents. So you just have to let that go and just be like, I said to my wife the other day, we were having dinner, and I said, between us both, we've experienced every known horrific circumstance that any man or woman can face. And look at us both. Let that be a relief that our kids are strong and resilient. And there's just a part of life where you can't avoid this. When you hear podcasts and they say, but did you have trauma? I'm thinking, who doesn't have trauma? Like my kid, Zia, she was bitten in the face by a dog. Right? You don't think that's going to be traumatic? It could be something as simple as me not taking her to bed and being present and being angry and narky gives her trauma. We all going to go through it and experience it, right? It's like life. So just, give yourself a pat on the back and give yourself a hug if you're listening to this,
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely important to not always fit. Yeah, we're going to feel guilty about certain things, aren't we? But it's not going to help to keep beating yourself up and focus on the past. Focus on where you want to go. Do you know what I mean? Focus on from now forward. Don't focus too much on that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to keep drinking because you'll just go back
Yeah,
to your
yeah.
drink as your way to numb those
Because you're
feelings and
not
emotions.
present. You're not
Yeah.
present.
Exactly. And if you are feeling shame right now, the reason I want you to feel it is because shame is a message. Carla McLaren, who was a guest on this show twice, she says that when you feel shame, the question is, I've stepped out of integrity. That's shame. Shame is telling you stepped out of integrity. So what do you need to do to get back in integrity? So if you're thinking to yourself, I'm not showing up for my kids because I'm drinking, that's the stepping out of integrity. What do you do to get back into integrity? You need to try to make steps towards reducing what you're drinking. I'm not saying stop it altogether, but you need to, that's a sign. Don't ignore the signs. And with John saying earlier on that he was sensitive, I'm definitely sensitive. When you stop drinking, the fucking signs come at you. Whoo!
Feel it all.
Feel it all. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like at first, it's hard. Like you say, like if you got a year, if you got 1,000 days or however, I know we spoke about that a lot at the time when you were wrangling with names and concepts and all the rest of it. It's about experiencing everything. So go as long as you can. A full year is good. 2 years is better. A lifetime's better for me. But it's like you go through all of the seasons, all of the birthdays, all of the losses, all of the arguments, and you learn to deal with all of life as a person, not as someone who's hiding from life. Do you know what I mean? And that's important to go through that, but it is difficult. It's like, it's really, really hard, but then it's really, really easy. Like I used to say to myself or think a lifetime without alcohol. How am I going to do that? It was overwhelming. Do you know what I mean? I think you might have been the person who said you're trying to eat an elephant with a pair of chopsticks or something because I was looking at the big, massive challenge. I don't have to think about that big, massive challenge. Now I look and I think a life with alcohol, why? So the narrative changed from a life without how to a life with why. You know what I mean?
You're choosing freedom, aren't you? You're focusing on the free. This is what Alan Carr does really well with his smoking and his drinking books. He's just like, no, you're focusing on, you're giving up something, but you're not giving up anything. And when you
much more back.
Yeah, you're gaining something. It's like when you look at feelings and emotions and people say they don't want to feel, they're looking at it like it's a constraint, but it's not. It's a superpower. And yes, so any superhero that you see on telly that suddenly gets superpowers, it's a little bit overwhelming for them, and they don't know, they can't control it. But once they harness it, they can control it. It's a superpower. It's not a constraint. There is something else I wanted to touch on for the last 10 minutes before you go. I know it might be a sensitive subject, but hopefully you'll bear with me on this. I want to focus on. We talked about it a little bit earlier, actually. I want to focus on doctors, healthcare workers, counselors, therapists, life coaches like me, yoga practitioners. I want to talk about people who are really wanting to make a difference in the world, right? Like they really are. Like their meaning and purpose is to make a change in the world, but they have this ambivalence, this cognitive dissonance going on because they're drinking, right? And I know for a fact that when I relapsed, so I stopped drinking for 3 years and then I relapsed. I was still, Strive was a different name then. It was Needy Helper. I was still the front man of this community of people. And all of a sudden I went from, drinking's the worst thing in the world to, well, I'm going to kind of drink moderately. And in that moment, I lost something. It was like I felt so out of integrity. But again, we're only human. And so there must be millions and millions of healthcare workers out there who are preaching health to people, but really need help. And to me, the low-hanging fruit there is alcohol, because people think it's really hard, but it's not until you end it and you finish it, you realize actually that wasn't as hard as I thought it was. For me, I'm just going to say it and put it out there because I'm going to be banging this drum because I never used to. For me, my experience, it was easy and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed changing and growing and evolving and developing. So yeah, I mean, you're a counselor. You talked about it earlier on. That happens, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go to like occasional group supervision meetings or get-togethers and stuff like that, and it will be like there will be alcohol involved. There will be meeting at a restaurant, a bar, or whatever, and or they'll be in there go, oh God, I'm gonna need a gin and tonic after this day I've had, and you're like. Do you know what I mean? Like for me, it overshadows everything they're doing. But for them, it's just normal. It doesn't take away from what they do. And I suppose there's, you can look at it both ways. But for me, I really struggle with that because they're relying on something to hide. And then I start to question myself. Well, is it me that's wrong? Is it okay to do that kind of? And then I return to myself and think, well, it's not right for me. Maybe it is right for them. I don't know. Like my wife uses it to de-stress, but yeah, it doesn't de-stress. It doesn't make anyone any more sociable. My friends have complained that I'm not sociable when we get together and like have a cards night, and then 2 hours later my mate's passed out on the sofa comatose. I'm like, who's not being sociable now? Do you know what I mean? That's the most ridiculous thing you could have said. And then he's passed out all night and I'm up till 2 in the morning, absolutely fine, and getting my car drive home, and I'm up at 7 with my daughter. It's not a problem. Whereas he'll be smashed till lunchtime not doing anything. So yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it? But with the healthcare professional aspect, yeah, like we always hear of like doctors who have alcohol problems and things like that. And for me, it's like, yeah, you're giving advice to people about their health. Do you really know about health, or are you just playing a role? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's a weird old situation, isn't it? Like alcohol is killing so many people, having such an impact on the NHS, but they don't push that enough. That's why I struggle with certain charities and giving money to charity around fixing things like alcohol and cancer and all of these things, because they're not doing enough with prevention. It's all about what can we provide to make more money and provide more drugs. Whereas if they just don't do this, there will be less of this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
If they don't eat as much sugar, if they don't eat as much processed, but nobody makes money from people not doing stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Nobody makes money from people fasting, although it should probably be put out there because we eat too much. You know what I mean? We drink too much. We do too much. Whereas meditating and doing nothing and not eating and not drinking and not eating processed food doesn't make any money, does it?
Yeah, I think this message and talking about healthcare workers, it ain't gonna land in the ear holes of the people who are stuck in the liquid lie and they have no idea what's going on and they're super unconscious, right? But if you're listening to this and you're a healthcare worker, then I assume you've already started thinking about this, and I guess the reason I'm asking John this for all of you healthcare workers listening to this, both of us help people and both of us have been a lush at one point in our life and both of us have felt that ambivalence around and that integrity breach. But again, just as we were talking about being fathers, I think the most important thing is to not ignore it, right? It's a signal, it's a sign, it's telling you something, So I honestly, there's two things here that I want to say, and if you have an opinion on it. One, if you're an healthcare worker, if you're able to stop drinking, holy fuck, how much better you will be as a healthcare worker all around. Like every facet of your life will go up a notch. I'm not saying it solves everything. Like I said, you got to be alcohol free as fuck and then live a self-led life. But just being alcohol free as fuck, you're going to go a few levels in a video game. You're going to be able to show up for your clients in a much better way than you are on yourself. And then secondly, I'm sorry, but it's just the fact. Yeah, if you still drink alcohol, you can help somebody to stop drinking alcohol, 100%. But if you struggled with alcohol or you did drink alcohol and you stopped and now you're dealing with someone who's got an alcohol problem, that's different gravy. That's why people who have an alcohol problem, they want to work with people who have had an alcohol problem. There's a reason. There's a safety. There's a safety not just in them sharing their story, but there's a safety in knowing that you understand what they're going through, right? So there's so many positives in being able to just kind of look at this and saying, what do I value in life? What does integrity look like? What do I put into my body? And if we are, it's like fucking Lululemon having a beer line. It's just ridiculous. It's like, it's so off-brand. It's unbelievable, right? It's like fucking
Yeah, I think it's important that shared experience in this arena, especially with addictions or with alcohol problems, it's important to work with people and have that shared experience, and for us to share our experience, because I've been the biggest idiot. I thought consider myself to be lucky to be alive, like with my traveling and in different countries and getting off my head, and yeah, it can be helpful to hear that for other people, because they think, well, no, they've not been as bad as me, or they're not thinking the thoughts I'm thinking. Believe me, I've had the deepest, darkest, horrible thoughts and intrusive thoughts and weird thoughts and all the rest of it. But most of it was because of the effects of alcohol and even drugs at certain points in my life. Do you know what I mean? So I've really been down there. So I think it is important to not think of ourselves as broken and not be able to be fixed. It takes effort. It takes a lot of effort, but sharing our experience and getting involved in a community of people with similar experience, not exactly the same experience, but we have a lot of shared experience. I think that's really important, and that's what helped me the most. Not using willpower, but using a community, but also using education around, like you've done for many years, the conditioning and the lies and around alcohol, and it's important. It's important, definitely, to throw the kitchen sink at it. Use the community, use education, just dig a little bit deeper into what goes on with alcohol and the shiny bottles and the branding, and yeah, it's unreal, isn't it? It's not just alcohol, they use it in other arenas, but alcohol's something that impairs our life deeply when we do it, doesn't it? But we don't really realize that before, during, and after.
Yeah, thanks for that, John. And lastly, just purely selfishly for me, for anyone listening to this, why should they join Strive? Why should they take the Strive method? Why should they come under my tutelage, I guess, and hear my words of wisdom and trust me to help them to live a self-led life, alcohol-free as fuck? Because you did at one point.
Yeah, I think because it's valuable to get involved in the community, and I think it's really valuable to, like, for all the things I've just said, is to share experience, to open up about what we're experiencing, be really honest. Do you know what I mean? Put it out there, and it doesn't matter how crazy you think it might be, or you don't want to share these things. But other people, when we do expose vulnerability, it's received a lot better than we think it might, and it also opens the door for other people to share. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I think that's a big thing, especially with men, that we don't, because we feel we'll be judged. But I've helped many clients in many arenas, like especially in like emergency services, where you're a fireman or you're a policeman, and we don't share how we feel. But when they do, they change that little culture, what they're in with their work environment, and people start to share their experience, and that they felt a little bit nervous or they were anxious when they went to that job. And it's like, it's changed the culture within their environment. And that's what Strive does, isn't it? You create a culture where it's safe to be heard and to share and to like educate as well. And you've got so much experience, which helped me and helped a lot of people. I know our friend Craig, who I still talk to, he's similar to me. Like he would say exactly the same about the community. We met each other within the community, and now we meet up every now and again, and we go to like little gigs and stuff, maybe in Liverpool when we can be bothered. Like again, time flies by. We've done it probably once a year for the last few years. but it's good to do that, isn't it? And to see each other kind of, yeah, you'll meet some great people, and I'm sure there's still people involved in the community. Maybe when I was involved, it'd be great to actually reconnect with some of them people, you know. If that's something that we can do in the future, I'd love to do that.
Definitely. And finally, if people want to work with you, how do they get hold of you, John?
So I've got a new website. It's daisyhillwellbeing.co.uk, and you can get in touch with me through that. So that would be the best. So it's Daisy, obviously spelled Daisy Hill, wellbeing, all one word, .co.uk. So
Did you just say Daisy Hill spelt Daisy Hill?
well, I thought it was pretty straightforward. I was going to spell it out, and then I thought, do I need to spell Daisy Hill?
No, I did just say that the vast majority of our audience is American. We do have a different kind of like vocabulary when it comes to these things. I'm sure it's Daisyhill, yeah?
Yeah, and well-being's all one word, whereas I think in America it might be well-being, but it's not well-being. It's Daisy Hill Wellbeing, all one word.
There you go.
Well-being being WELLBEING.
So if you're out there listening to this and you think you're a little bit fucked up and you want to speak to someone who used to be fucked up, John is your man. I am your man. This is what we were talking about actually earlier, isn't it? About how you go through life. People, you know, and it's like, if you have no adversity, how can you help people? You know?
Exactly.
John, thanks. It's been beautiful to have you on. I'm just going to press this stop button, but stay there. Don't go anywhere.